Hello, beautiful strangers, and welcome back to another episode of Myth. When last we left off, the simulation has started to go off rails, I think. Or the story, I think they said simulation, right? Don't know, what doesn't matter. Although I think the simulation is starting to go off rails is from something else. It doesn't matter. None of this matters. As a fun for me. A little aside before we start. I was watching TV, which I don't do very often, but I do watch a couple things on TV. And I was sitting there, waiting for the show that I was watching to end, and then so I could start recording. And as I was, getting up to turn off my TV, because the power button on my remote doesn't work anymore for some reason. And I'm too lazy to go buy a fucking universal remote because I don't care that much. I saw what was coming on after what I was watching, and it was the Need for Speed movie. And I didn't know that there was a Need for Speed movie. So I just spent a couple of minutes looking that up. And apparently there was a Need for Speed movie that came out in 2014. And apparently it was about as bad as it sounds. Yeah, I had no clue about that. I kind of want to watch it because I like watching bad movies like that, like just bad thrillers, bad action thrillers especially, or something I used to watch a lot when I watched movies. Always a fun time, especially which I'm sitting here alone, but watching them with other people, just making fun of them relentlessly for all the dumb shit that's in it. Mwah. Anyway, enough rambling on, and let's get back into it, shall we? I hated mornings. I was awful with them. My hips were starting to hurt lately, too, perhaps because of my age. Mornings always made me feel lethargic. What a hassle. I was sweating in my sleep this morning, too. I guess all the pressure from work was getting to me, or I had some dream that was equivalent to that pressure. I stretched, my bones cracked. It felt like I had oiled up my 30-plus-year-old bones a bit by doing that, though. I headed for the kitchen, making my way through the piles of garbage. I mean, that's not that bad. I've seen worse. I mean, it's not clean by any stretch. Actually, yeah, I was going to say, actually, that is worse than it initially appears. But no, that's about as bad as it initially appears. But I've seen worse. Like, in person, seen worse. So, Like, my room, currently, it's really clean. Fairly. I have a cat, or a kitten, specifically, who likes to play with things and get into things. So, there's that. But, I've seen worse. Seeing that mess made me think I should clean, but that thought would only last until I turned on my toaster. So long as I can divert my attention from the trash, there was no chance I was going to do anything about this messy place. I always kept my TV remote next to the toaster. It was the most convenient place to keep it. I pressed its on button. Now that fucking visual novel's mocking me. Huh? So my remote doesn't, the power button doesn't work. Everything else works just fine, I'll have you know. I just want to point out that this is 2016, by the way. Entertainment was on at the moment. Seeing that made me realize why people could be so engrossed watching TV. We received some wonderful news. I celebrated some couple's wedding and divorce in the time it took for my toast to be ready. As I was dunking my toast in some coffee, the doorbell suddenly rang. Was it Committee? No, it couldn't have been him. It was even worse than I was with mornings. He wouldn't come necessarily to pick me up. Who could it be? I had made my way through the mountain of trash as I headed for the intercom. Not sure if that was thunder distant thunder that I heard, or if that was a crash on the near-ish by freeway or interstate or whatever. Interesting. Not my problem either way. Technically the rain is my problem because I like the rain. I like listening to thunder. Yes? Hiro? Their voice was clear, unlike mine. I recognized that voice. Its owner came to mind as I searched through my memories. It's Yukihime. We went to college together. Yukihime. That was a nostalgic name. One second. I'll open the door. I threw on some sweatpants and such and headed for the door. Long time no see. Yuki was at the door. I hadn't seen her in around 15 years. It was strange. She was definitely in her early 30s. However, she looked like she was still in her early 20s and still resembled the Yukihime I knew so well. Sorry for showing up all of a sudden. Her behavior was the same as I remembered back when we were students too. She flashed me a gentle, bright smile. Nah, it's fine. What's up? Yuki was wearing a long coat and jeans with a large purse hanging off her shoulder. I was just curious what you've been up to. It really had been a long time since I last saw her. After we graduated, we kept in contact for a bit, but we didn't actually meet face to face. I met her back when I first enrolled. We took the same major, so we often had class together. It wasn't long until the two of us grew friendly with one another. She was very tidy, serious about her work, honest. I was kind of envious of her. Things have been rough, but I've been getting by somehow. Am I smiling? I hope I didn't have some rude expression on my face. I was worried about that, but she responded to me with a smile. Her smile was the same as before, and my lips are chapped. I don't want to put chapstick on because I have a bad habit of doing that when I have chapstick on. That, and I don't want to get chapstick all over my water bottle because the wax chapstick or lip balm, whatever that I like to use, does not go well and stains and makes my the mouthpiece on my water bottle gross. Because it's I think the wax of the lip balm gets into the it's not porous, but it's like a silicone type thing. The mouthpiece on my water bottle, and I think the lip balm does not work well with that or something. But I have a habit of chewing on my lips when my lips are chapped. Don't know why. I'm in a rambly mood today. Her smile was the same as before. When I come in, I don't have a lot of time before work, but I invited Yuki inside because the wind was making me cold. No, that's okay. She reached for her purse. I just wanted to give you this. She had a pamphlet in her hands. Okay, it says Peacemaker. I thought it said Pie Maker and was horribly confused. There was a picture of a happy family on it. Is that what that's supposed to be? Sure, why not? Reincarnation Communication Hoinkyo was written on the cover. We know that name. I had never heard of that religious group before. Things were pretty rough for me after I graduated. Her expression suddenly darkened. I quit the accounting firm I was working at once I got married. The thing is, though, my husband was pretty awful. He was a heavy drinker, like some sort of comic book character. He didn't work, and he was violent with me. It was horrible. It was almost like her words had been prepared in advance. So one day, I decided that I wanted to die. I couldn't take that lifestyle anymore. I figured it was better to just die than to let that continue. Thinking back made me realize just how silly I was for even coming to that conclusion. A forlorn smile formed on her lips. I gazed at the small wrinkles around her lips. The church saved me, though. My life changed just by joining. I made great friends and learned a virtue through my faith. It truly gave me happiness. If you don't hear the alarm bells going off in your head and the red flags waving through your vision, I don't know what to tell you. If somebody that I knew came up to me and was like, here, join my religion, I had nothing, but then I found peace or virtue or fucking, it changed my life and yada, yada, yada. Just Just politely but firmly asks them to leave. And if they ask for money, ask for money back. I think I'll pass. She really did seem happy. I couldn't see a trace of her old reserved self in her. Let me hand you the pamphlet at least. You can contact me whenever you want if you feel like it. She had me hold her thin pamphlet. See you then. She left after that, as though she had just completed some job of hers. All I could do was vacantly gaze at her retreating figure. I crumpled the pamphlet and tossed it into the trash after I went back inside. Good. I will admit I'd probably look through it, but I'm the type of person, I find religions to be fascinating because I'm a history nerd and I like history and religion and culture and the things that make people do what they have done. And if you weren't aware, religion just played a big part in our history of the world, global history, everywhere. Committee showed up 30 minutes later. Weird. I gulped down some coffee, trying to relieve myself of the array of emotions I felt before opening the door. Council number 20320, PN 319283. Hi. I recognized a number of people at the station. You start to get to know people after you've been doing the same job for a number of years. Oh, you're here for Oz. The middle-aged policeman looked uncomfortable. Yes, I had an appointment for a meeting with him. I replied with a smile on my face. Indeed, come this way. We followed the policeman as he brought us to the meeting room where Oz was waiting. The room was familiar to me. It had the same plain walls, windows, and bars that I was used to. It felt empty. Nothing extraneous was present. Like the river of Styx. Never really heard it referred to as the river of Styx, more just the river Styx, whatever. Like the river of Styx parting this world from that of hell. That was the impression this meeting room always gave. Well, it wasn't just the thing that was separating this world from hell. It was, never mind. I'm not going to go into the in-depth details of never mind. I haven't read Dante's Inferno, or the Divine Comedy, technically, in a long time anyway. I should reread that. I wish I knew where my copy was. I had a good Harvard translation somewhere, and it's gone. So I don't know. Like years ago, it disappeared. I wish I knew what happened to it. My client this time around sat in a chair in the room. It was even fucking leather-bound. Got it at a used bookstore for cheap and found out it was worth 4 times what I paid for. And whatever. Prisoner number 102911. Oz. He twisted his skinny body, cowering with a timid look on his face. Nice to meet you, 897098. Call me Oz. I see. I'm a lawyer, number 3510659. I received a request from the Tokyo Bar Association on the 11th to take over this case. I'll be defending you. Thanks. Oz gave me his gratitude. His pupils were lifeless, his brown hair was shaggy, and he had stubble on his face. Just based on looks alone, it didn't seem like this guy could even kill a fly. I couldn't just blindly trust him, though. All humans are capable of making mistakes. I wouldn't view him as just your average student until after I'd seen plenty of proof showing as much. Oz-san, I need to tell you 2 things to start. The first point is that I'm essentially your ally. I will do anything in my power to legally aid you with regards to what you state. It would help greatly if you could be entirely truthful with me. The second point is that you have the right to remain silent. You're not obligated to answer questions that might put you in a bad light or touch on personal things. Also, keep in mind that you have the right to refuse to sign written statements. This is, I guess the, how lawyers work in Japan is probably different than what I'm used to in the States. At least not what I'm used to, what I know of. Yeah. And typically it's the police that tell you have a right to remain silent, and they hope to God that you use it. No, I'm kidding. They actually hope you don't use it, because if you don't use your right to remain silent, then that's incriminating information, and guess what they can use against you? Oz reflected on my words, and then after muttering to himself, he nodded. So, let's hear your side of the story. There is no story. I didn't do anything. The expression on Oz's face was blank, but I got a glint of anger in his eyes. That was only natural, though. Whether that's the truth or not, defendants who advocate their innocence often get upset about any proof showing otherwise. And the more evidence that mounts against them, the more desperate they get. Maybe I'm a sleepwalker and I committed a crime without realizing it. This kind of thing is, of course, nonsense, but not uncommon when a defendant loses their composure. This meeting's over if that happens. You'll never be able to get them back on track. I had to give Oz time to make his case so that wouldn't happen. Where were you when the first incident happened? At home. You were at home during all 3 incidents? That's right. Do you have any witnesses who can prove that? I don't. Anything at all that proves you were at home? No. He was comparatively calm despite these remarks. You could almost say that he was used to this kind of thing in a sense, but I was just reading too much into things. So what were you doing at home? Even if I told you, it's possible to acquire an alibi even if you were at home, such as by looking at your electricity or internet usage, if you had any visitors, etc. It's possible to prove that you were actually at home by doing that. You won't get an alibi from that. How can you be so sure? That was the first time the look on Oz's face changed. He was gently smiling. He looked at me with an innocent, childlike look on his face. Will you listen to my story? I'm here for that very reason. I sat down on the chair and waited for Oz to begin. I'm not sure if you'll believe me, though. As I said before, it's my job to believe you. Depending on how things turn out, what you say can prove your innocence and get you acquitted. So please, talk to me. Okay. He seemed to resolve himself as he began. Mobile Fleet Gundam Plus. Huh? I would probably accidentally say Mobile Suit Gundam, because of course I probably will. I also know basically nothing about Gundam. I watched it some when I was a kid, and I have not seen it since. I've seen a couple of mentions to it just here and there online. Couple of people that I've watched online, just on YouTube, have mentioned it offhandedly before. Other than mentioning that they like it, or that they liked this show, or they liked these Gundam, and that's the extent of my knowledge. Don't really watch it. Don't really like mecha anime. Don't really watch anime, but I don't watch mecha anime. I don't really watch action anime all that much. At least not over that kind of action, anyway. Yeah, anyway. Huh? I wasn't expecting that. I was completely taken aback by the difference between what he said and the look on his face. Second Lieutenant Hikaru uses her Mach 3 Dogram to take down the Galactic Space Federation to save Miki and the Earth. Hikaru suffers as she defeats her enemies, but grows as a person. At the very end, though, the Space Federation's commander, Mick... I didn't recognize any of the words coming from Oz's mouth. I
I shot a look over at Kamurti. Sounded like some kind of SF novel or anime. Kamurti might know something since they seem to be around the same age. It's a popular anime. Gets even more popular with every sequel. Even I know about it and I have no interest in it. Popular anime, huh? I looked back over at Oz. Oz was bashfully looking down. The truth is, I'm actually a Gundane mechanic. This past month, I've been repairing all the machines that are used in Gundane. I'm the only mechanic there is. There isn't just one kind of machine or anything either. There are many different mass-produced ones. My work couldn't possibly be completed in just a month. Oz-san, I'm not here to listen to your delusions. I'm not lying. I really am a... Delusions, emotional instability, drugs. Those words came to mind as I observed Oz's behavior. But he still looked at me with an oddly serious glint in his eyes. I could sense an abstract atmosphere about him, one unique to those trying to claim what they're saying is the truth. If he were to have a psychological evaluation, he would almost certainly be considered to be mentally unstable. You aren't going to believe me, are you? He was dejected as he leaned back into his chair. Did you tell the prosecutor this? Of course not. That would just make fun of me. I see. So he knew that what he was saying was unrealistic. This was gonna be troublesome. Gundane, huh? Where's the pilot for this Gundane? If he thought of that mecha anime as reality, then there was a possibility that he viewed others, real people or machines, as characters or whatnot. It's possible that those people are around him. What do you mean by that? Those pilots aren't real. You don't get it all. Here, let me explain. Oz began to rattle off a bunch of words at once, like he was waiting for this moment. The Gundanes battle with the Galactic Federation once a week. My work begins once that weekly battle ends. I have to finish repairing it before the next week. The Gundane will function perfectly like normal once the episode next week airs. How could that be? That's what I'm saying. So he knew that anime isn't real. However, by imagining what's happening in between episodes, he's begun to believe that fiction is true. That's why he's doing these things he's imagining, as though there was nothing wrong with that. He was seriously ill. Those kinds of symptoms don't just appear out of nowhere, even if he had done a drug or two before. Yes, done a drug or two. Which means that he must have been a habitual user. Actually, to be fair, I think the done a drug or two might be a translation thing and not just weird wording by the authors. I don't know I think this was written by one person, I think. All right. I decided to put an end to his anime talk. All I could do was claim as much in court. So, about the email you sent to the police. I took the document out from my manila envelope and began to read the part highlighted in pink. Foolish humans, bear witness to these crimes. The 30 victims have been hidden. The girl is deep underground. The man is deep underwater. The woman is in the harbor, dismembered. I didn't do it. Remember, make sure you were twirling your mustache properly. Or even if you don't have a mustache, twirl where your mustache would be. I didn't do it. The look on his face immediately grew grim. Do you recognize this? I don't know anything about that. Oz-san, please remain calm. It's fine if you don't recognize it. I tried to calm Oz as he cowered. I really don't know. He hid under the desk, not even blinking. The look on his face was of pure terror. Oz-san, how much do you know about programming? I tried to get his mind off that by asking him a different question. Programming? I've never done it before. What about hacking? There's no way I could ever do that. I see. If that was actually the truth, it would be inconsistent with the facts that he sent an email to the police. Although there's no saying that's a definitive inconsistency, but about the weapon that was discovered in your room, do you remember when it was found? Presuming that Oz is not the culprit, then I must have to assume that the weapon used in the crime must have been placed in his room at some point without him knowing. Assuming he went out somewhere on that day, it's possible that someone did that. It was after I went out for a bit that night. When I came back, there was a police car in front of my apartment building. Where did you go that evening? Please let me use my right to remain silent. I don't believe it has to do anything to do with the case anyway. I see. I glanced over at Kimuri. Kimuri had finished writing down his notes, so our eyes met. Let's leave it at that for today. Thank you. I gave Oz my thanks and went to leave the meeting room. Miss? When Oz called out to me, will you prove that I'm innocent? I'll do my best. We left after that. He was mentally ill. Kimuri had a concerned look on his face as he gripped the wheel. I gazed at the town scenery around Kokuda Station from the passenger seat's window. Getting him acquitted will be tough, but the trial will likely focus on his mental state. Assuming he isn't faking his illness, then it's very possible he's unconsciously committed that crime. Gundane, right? Saying that out loud made me realize how comical this all sounded. That's right. He's crazy to think he was repairing them himself. What Oz said was indeed delusional. How could he be maintaining fictional machines that appear in some anime? If he were going to say that anyone was, it would be whoever was producing the anime. The details of this just aren't shown in the show, but the fact of the matter is, some mechanic not shown in the show is repairing them before battle. So what do you think, Chief? Kimuri seemed to be ridiculing him. He must have already made up his mind. We need to dig a bit deeper. He sighed back at me. Following the line of thought that he's of unsound mind would potentially reduce his prison sentence. But no evidence proving such has been found yet. Plus, you have to consider the email he sent to the police. That email was sent from an incredibly advanced program, as evidenced by the fact that the police network was unable to pick up on it. It would be difficult for an email sent from your standard program to pick up on. The thing is, though, Oz said that he doesn't have the skills necessary to develop such a program. He could say anything. That's right. It's possible he brought it from some black market auction site. Black market auction sites continue to exist, evading the law despite advances in network administration. These sites claim you can purchase and sell original programs, but the truth is the majority of the programs on these sites are usually illegal copies or altered versions of existing ones. The majority of exhibitors are skilled programmers known as crackers. The exhibitors alter the source code pertinent to the copyright of those programs and also take requests from others. So it's just a torrent site. Okay. Yeah, sure. Black market auctions. There's no proof of actual forgery. Okay. That was weird. These sites continue to exist because they are in a legal gray area where they can't be shut down because there is no clear information indicating that they're violating copyrights. He might have an accomplice. Or, the most you can do is block them in your country, but if they're hosted in another country, unless there's, trade agreements, and I don't remember what the thing for network stuff is, but like those type of agreements, and it, doesn't fucking matter. Like the US isn't going to shut down a Russian site, for example, and China's not going to shut down a US site, or That's not true. Let's not dwell on that too much. He might have an accomplice. Accomplice, huh? Something about Kimurti's optimistic statement made me feel like that could be possible. Oz's testimony would be a bit more consistent if he had an accomplice. I'm just kidding. Oz said he wasn't in contact with anyone. What was it that you said? He could say anything? I took out the documents from the manila envelope and read over Oz's background information again. The documents stated that he hadn't made contact with anyone for several months. You want me to look into that? If you could. I tapped on Kimurti's shoulder as he gripped the steering wheel. I'm not sure how we can gather information concerning black market auction sites, though. What about Ness? I leaned over after taking out a flash drive from my pocket. Can I borrow your pee-pee? Okay. Sure, but I don't know if he's awake. I turned on the portable phone built into the car and inserted a flash drive into it. 2016, by the way. The small portable ROM switched to the car's interior to the broadcast mode using the PP's terminal. Please verbally state the PN and FN of the person you will be contacting in order to verify your voice print. PN 354106959, FN Hiro, inquiring, beginning call with FN Ness. So your name's actually Hiro, Chief? Oh, I never told you? I don't remember. I see. The digital display on the old PP indicated it was 4 p.m. I could tell that Ness was in the process of getting up as he continued to sigh. It's rare for you to call me. You're still a sleepyhead, huh, Ness? Ness, PN 183297765, an old friend of mine. I first got in contact with him when I first started my work as a lawyer. Ness belonged to the Tokyo Cyber Police Information Division. He's a detective, so to speak. There's no need for him to work in a specific location, though, so he works entirely from home. It's no different from being freelance. His job is to browse the internet and report suspicious information to the investigation division. Ugh. Poor guy. Ness calls himself Net Patrol, which isn't really far off the mark. Which is this fucking Mega Man Battle Network? I envisioned his job at one point, but he told me it's actually rather difficult or envied his job at one point, but he told me it was rather difficult, and that left quite an impression on me. I think I began to really start getting familiar with him once I was given a job that involved collecting information. We got along pretty well, so we ended up going out to drink when we had the time. I love the night. It exhilarates me. Is that your aggravating saying as of late? From the high-pitched voice indicating he had just woken up, it was clear he didn't at all resemble the teenage criminal mastermind he imagined in himself. Seems I hit a bullseye. Ness intermittently comes up with sayings of sorts. Then he faithfully follows those sayings. It's a rather odd habit of his. Just from the roles I know, there was a clumsy newbie cop, a crazy guy, crime novel lover, and a plentiful variations with so little acting prowess it could even impress Razzie winners. You could say this was just the result of him being a workaholic. He always has to change his names and personality because of his job. As a TCP civil worker, he often has to be in disguise. Oh, well, whatever. What is it you need today? Ness asks, more like a proper young man than a mastermind. I began to explain the case to him. Myth, Day 2, the cast. And I think the end of the episode. So that was interesting. We learned a little bit more about Oz and, well, got a bit of a, what's the word that I want to use? we learned a little bit more about Yuri's personality. I'll leave it at that. Yeah, that was interesting. Again, I like stuff like that. Even like I read books with that's the entire type of stuff that's in the book. I read true crime novels from time to time. I used to read them more than I read them now, to be fair. But I do still read them, and I listen to true crime podcasts from time to time. And I used to watch true crime TV shows a lot of the time. But yeah, I think this is the end. And next time, what happened on day 2 typically? And going by the name of this, the name of the day, the cast. So I believe we're probably going to be meeting So and Aditi. One can hope. But find out the answer to that and more next time. And I hope to see you all there.